Hello everyone, my name is Raghavi Priya, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering. So in this video, you're going to see about the topic Basic of Object and Class in Unit 3 Object and Classes. The subject code is 23 CST 205 Object Oriented Programming using Java. So in this presentation, you're going to see about the basics of object and classes in Java. So mastering the fundamentals of object-oriented programming. So let's recall what is object-oriented programming. Okay, so object-oriented programming is a programming paradigm so that organizes software design around data or object or any real world entity rather than functions and logic. So it's based on the concept that everything in the real world can be modeled as. So there are four fundamental concepts in OOPS. They are encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction. So what is encapsulation? So encapsulation is binding the data and methods. So bundling data and methods that work on that data within a single unit. So this is what the encapsulation. So you have to bind the data, attributes and method, which is a behavior. It works as a single unit in programming. So that is called that concept is known as encapsulation. So inheritance. So what is inheritance? So creating new classes based on existing ones to promote code reusability. So from the parent class, we will derive a subclass. So that is called a inheritance. So polymorphism, object taking on multiple forms and behaving differently in different contexts. So that is what the polymorphism. The term poly means many, morphism means form. So taking many forms, multiple forms in programming is known as a polymorphism. So abstraction. So next one is abstraction. So hiding complex implementation details and showing only essential features. This is called an abstraction. So let us understand with the design thinking concepts. So the first stage is empathize. So understanding objects in Java. So why we are implementing objects in programming? So what is an object? So an object is a fundamental unit in Java that represents a real world entity. So it combines state, data stored in fields and behavior method that operate on the data into a single entity. So object is a instance of a class. So they are concrete manifestation of the blueprint that classes provide. Okay, so every object has a three state, that is identity, a unique reference distinguishing it from other object. So state, data stored in attributes of fields. So behavior, functionality exposed through method. So think of it this way. So if a class is a blueprint for a house, so consider this example. So class is a blueprint for a house. Then so what is the object? Here comes the object is the actual home built from that blueprint. So with real walls, doors and specific address. So these are the attributes. So define DT stage define. So defining why we are using object and classes in Java. So understanding classes in Java. So Java is a blueprint or template that defines the structure and behavior of object. So it specifies what data an object will hold and what operation it can perform methods. So classes is the foundation of object oriented programming. So declaration. So how we will declare classes in Java? So classes are declared using the class keyword followed by the class name. So you should declare the class using the class keyword. So followed by you can give whatever name you want as your class name. So it should relate it to the functional attribute. So attributes, fields, so variables that store the state or properties of object created from the class. So after creating a class, so some properties or some kind of variables will be stored. So that is known as the relevant to the main class. So that is known as the attributes. So next one is methods. So what is method? Function that define the behavior or action object can perform. So attribute means we are just storing the state or a property. So a method means a function that defines the behavior of such kind of attributes. So this is called a method. So next one is constructors. Special methods used to initialize objects when they are recreated. So constructor is used for initiating the object. So constructor is a special methods used to initialize object when they are created. So understanding the relationship between the object and classes. So understanding the distinction and connection between classes and object is crucial to mastering Java object-oriented programming. So what is class? The class is the blueprint of an object. So this is a template that defines structure, attributes and methods, and also exists only once in code. So that is the class. So instantiation. So what is instantiation? The process of creating an object from a class using the new keyword. So object will be created from a class using a new keyword. So next, what is an object? So that is the instantiation of creating an object. So whenever we are going to create an object, that process is known as instantiation. So object. So what is an object? So the object is the instance of a class, your concrete entity with actual values. So multiple objects can be created from one class. So in a Java programming, there will be a standard, only one class should be mentioned, and from that class we can create multiple objects. So this is your sample program. So creating your first class. So this is the practical example, syntax and structure of a car class. Okay, so consider this example. So public class car. So public is a type of access modifier. So public class car. Your class is a keyword and car is your class name. So next we are instantiating the attributes. So private string brand, private string model, private int year, private string color. So we will declare what kind of data type based on the data. Okay, so next one is constructor. So public car string brand, string model, int year, string color. Since it consists of parameter, this is a type of parameterized constructor. So here we have used this keyword for referring the current object. So this dot brand equal to brand, this dot model equal to model, this dot year equal to year. So this dot color equal to color. So while method passing, it will fetch the data as a output. So for this, this keyword is we have used. So in method calling and passing, we will use different kind of attribute name for using. Instead of creating a different attribute name, we are using this keyword for referring the current object. So public, next method behavior. So public void start engine. So what are the function here is derived based on core classes. So system.out.println engine started. So public void display info system.out.print we are displaying the year, brand and model. So then getter and setter, public string get brand. So we are getting everything, what attributes we have mentioned earlier, we will returning it as an output. So this is your first car class program in Java with related attributes and methods. So object consists of attributes and method. So binding of this object and methods is known as encapsulation. So there are three important class. So access modifier. So here we have used public and private access modifier. So public class can be accessed globally and a private class can be accessed within the method. So next one is class keyword. So the class keyword is used for declaration. So it declares this is a class definition. So next one is class name. So should be the noun in Pascal case. So the class name should be a noun which should be relevant to whatever function we have to get. So next, instantiating object, bringing classes to life. So once you have defined a class, you can create object instances from it. So this process is called instantiation, and it transforms the abstract blueprint into concrete entity that occupies memory. So object creation is known as a instantiation. First, whenever the object is created, before that we have to initialize the object. So what happens behind the scenes? So there will be a memory allocation. The space is reserved in the heap memory for the object. So next, constructor invocation. The constructor initialize the object's attribute. So next one is reference assignment. So the variable stores a reference to the object's location. So this is a key idea. So attribute, methods, so and encapsulation. So attributes, variables that represents the state or properties of an object. So methods, function that define object behaviors and operation. So they can modify attributes or perform specific tasks. So encapsulation, the principle of bundling data and methods, restricting direct access to internal details. So this is the mind map. So let us recall. So basics of objects and classes in Java. So object is an instance of a class. So it consists of a state and behavior. So in class we called as a template or blueprint of an object. And methods, so functions or methods which will be derived from the state or attributes. So there are four core principles: encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction. So next, there is a one class. We will have only one class in a particular Java programming. So blueprint defining structure and behavior. So next one is object. So object can be, it is a unlimited instruction that can be created from one class. So we can create n number of objects in one class itself. So this is the puzzle. So arrange these in the correct order of execution when creating and using an object. So constructor executes, class is defined, object is created, method is called. So you itself recall what is the first step in this. So out of these four stages, what is the initial step? So the initial step is, the right answer is, so first one is class is defined. So next object is created. So final constructor executes and the method is called. So this is the correct life cycle of an object. So if next question is, if two objects are created from the class, changing data in one object automatically changes it in the other. So this one is true or false? So definitely it is a false statement. So it has a different property. So one object occupies a separate property. So it does not inherit the property of another object. So obviously this will be a false statement. Thank you.